Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore. If you like what I do, tell your friends. I upload videos at least twice a week, which have been described as D&D educational easy listening. I've also been called the Bob Ross of D&D lore, and often am told I am excellent as an adult sleep aid. I'm fine with all of this. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a member of the channel or backing me on Patreon, and of course, clicking the subscribe button completely free of charge. This video is a request from one of the honoured Gluminati, a patron of the channel, who has a great interest in the city of Waterdeep and the legacy of Halaster the Mad Mage, the wizard foremost responsible for the infamous super dungeon called Undermountain. For this video, I'm drawing lore directly from the City of Splendors, Waterdeep by Eric L. Boyd, published in June 2005, as well as Waterdeep's Dungeon of the Mad Mage by Christopher Perkins, published in November 2018. I am focusing primarily on Muiral the Misshapen, one of Halaster's apprentices. Originally a human fighter who was Halaster's trusted bodyguard, but later a student of the mystic arts, and in particular the metabiological mysteries. So sit back, grab a beverage, we're about to get deeply nerdy. Here we have a map of the Sword Coast. As far as I'm aware, this is the most recent map available. I should also point out we don't actually have a full and complete map of the entire continent of Faerun yet for 5th edition, which is pretty weird for a setting considering it's supposed to be the default edition of the game. Get it together, Wizards of the Coast. Most of us are still using the map from 2001. Anyway, Waterdeep is a city with a lot of history, far more history than most cities on Earth. As of the current date of 1493 DR, the city has a population of over 2 million beings, and it has been an important trade site between the north and south of the Sword Coast for over 2,500 years. However, we are only really concerned in this video with the legacy of one wizard and one of his companions. The backstory of the wizard is where we begin the story of Muiral. In his youth, more than 1,000 years ago, Halaster Blackcloak was known as Halaster, though where he spent his youth is the source of great speculation. Some sources place him in the ancient Amaskari Empire. Whatever his nation of origin, it is known that he was more gregarious as a young man, creating and hosting mage fairs and spell moots, and taking many apprentices. However, as his power grew, he became more interested in aberrations in the outer planes, which led to growing paranoia and viciousness. In 168 DR, Halaster, now calling himself Halaster Blackcloak, arrived at the foot of Mount Waterdeep with his apprentices Arcturia, Desira Kesselharp, Nesta, Marambra Nightsteel, Rantantar, Trobriand, and Muiral, collectively called the Seven. Halaster summoned demons and other outsiders to construct Halaster's hold and claimed the nearby lands as his own. Most likely he chose the location because of Sargwath Enclave, an abandoned Netherese outpost buried deep beneath the surface. It was probably his proximity to this site that began a slow but inexorable descent, not just into the underground complexes, but into the depths of madness. The first sign was when Halaster refused to release the monsters and demons after they constructed his hold, instead sending them into the caverns to explore. This began Halaster's hunts, a long series of journeys into the area now called the Underhauls, driving out the drow, the duergar, and various monsters that lived there. By 309 DR, Halaster had complete control over the near-endless tunnels and caverns, and began constructing the largest and most deadly dungeon imaginable, Undermountain. By the time Halaster had become completely mad and wanted nothing to do with the outside world, he left his hold to live in Undermountain itself full-time, allowing the keep to fall into ruin. Several of his apprentices came looking for him. He slew 2 of them before demanding the rest help him fortify his dungeon even more. One refused and managed to escape. Desira Kesselharp later became Magister, and it is from her that we actually know all this stuff about Halaster. Nesta tried to become a lich and succeeded in part. He attained undead status, but he bungled badly his spells. He became a lich in form, but gained slightly different powers. His phylactery was disintegrated and his body followed slowly, according to Ed Greenwood in The Ruins of Undermountain, published in 1991. Arcturia was transformed from her human appearance into that of a beautiful one with sylph-like wings and fine scales of blue to protect her body. However, after her death during Halaster's Harvesttide, High Harvesttide was a series of events where other stuff happened. It was a bit more complicated to get into. She was once more transformed through her carefully prepared contingency magic into a worm that walks. Her true form became one of a vile undead amalgamation of worms. Though she would wear a mask to hide her inner appearance, she still resides within Undermountain, and I use the label she very loosely here. Bards beware, she's a horrific monster. Of those who could not escape, or who became victims of the insidious madness of Undermountain themselves, Muiral was one. Muiral was an accomplished human warrior who long served as Halaster's bodyguard. His descent into madness began when he asked the mad mage to tutor him in the wizardly arts. Muiral learned enough magic to transform himself into a half-scorpion monstrosity, become known as Muiral the Misshapen. He then retired to the level of Undermountain that would later be called Muiral's Gauntlet, driving out and slaying its original drow denizens. Muiral now spends his days hunting adventurers and other interlopers for fun. Long years alone and Halaster's influence have rendered him utterly insane. His slaughter of the drow was so lethal, they speak of him only in hushed tones. Well, drow always speak in hushed tones, but they are particularly spooked by Muiral the Misshapen, and anyone that can terrify the drow should be avoided at all costs. Muiral's graveyard is a sub-level built by the drow soon after their initial invasion that included living quarters and a warrior academy. Muiral transformed these chambers into a trap-filled gauntlet haunted by giant spiders, undead and driders. Although the monstrous mage abandoned this area, his deadly creations still remain there. These days, Muiral can be found in one of three areas he frequently visits in the level now known as Muiral's Gauntlet. The first area in the Drow is a Drow Temple to Lolth, quite impressive, with 30-foot high vaulted ceiling, two large statues of Lolth herself, a nave with many pillars and a raised platform with an altar carved to look like a mass of webbing. The whole area is illuminated by two spider-shaped braziers which burn with purple flames, and kneeling in front of the altar are three spectral figures garbed in ornate but tattered robes of high priestesses. Some bodies of recently slain adventurers lie around the room. The three figures are drow banshees named Charinidia, Grasthray, and Terizlin, who were all once priestesses of Lolth, whom the goddess transformed into wailing undead due to their vanity. Although Muiral has already stripped the dead adventurers of any valuables a while ago, he may be in the chamber interacting with the banshees, as he likes to listen to their long lists of complaints, as they feel deeply betrayed by their beloved goddess, and he finds their torment delicious. If player characters approach and are detected, he will turn invisible and wait for them to enter. The banshees stagger their wails for maximum effect, keeping up a constant wailing, and Muiral will use Wall of Force spell to cut off one of the characters from the rest of the party. Now revealed, he will seek to engage each character one by one until they are all dead. If he's feeling challenged by the fight, he casts Animate Object on any of the wall braziers or the large statues of Lolth. He always stays at least far enough away from the banshees, which I think is about 30 feet, to avoid getting caught in their supernatural wailing attack, but he's used to the sight of them and never suffers from their horrifying visage. If not in the Temple to Lolth, he may be in the halls of Selvatam, dedicated to the lesser deity that serves or once served Lolth, one of the very rare male drow gods, devoted to battle and bloodlust, somewhat sinister deity. The Hall of the Spider That Waits has a 40-foot high ceiling, and clinging to the roof upside down is a 20-foot diameter stone spider that looks just like a giant tarantula. Also in the room, on the ground, are eight lifelike statues of drow warriors, 4 male, 4 female, scattered around the room, formerly living drow whom Muiral petrified quite some time ago. If present, Muiral will be lurking in the space between the spider sculpture and the ceiling, 30 feet above the floor. He will respond to intruders by at first animating the petrified drow and using them to attack, watching up above with great amusement, like chess pieces animated and at play, while also casting Wall of Force if the petrified drow get destroyed, singling out adventurers one at a time to pick them off, as is his way. Finally, he may be present in Lolth's Palace, or more precisely, the 30-foot high balcony level that encircles around this chamber. This is a complicated encounter area with multiple levels, piles of bones that Muiral can animate, turning them into the equivalent of shambling mounds made of skulls and bones. There's also a huge hanging statue of Lolth in her half spider form, and lots of metal shields decorating the walls. The statue is actually animated and functions stat-wise as a stone golem all on its own without his help. Muiral's stat block is fairly impressive. He's a legendary creature capable of taking on an entire party of medium level adventurers. The challenge rating 13 encounter. He is a large monstrosity, absolutely chaotic evil, and with an armor class of 16, 195 hit points and a speed of 50 feet per round. Although he's not listed as having a climb speed, I'd say that the scorpion body is quite capable of scuffling up and down walls pretty easily, although he does make use of the spider's climb spell. He has 120 foot dark vision, passive perception of 16, plus 6 to active perception, so very hard to sneak up on or sneak past, particularly considering the large echoing chambers of this level and how chatty adventurers tend to be these days. Not only does he have a strength of 19 and a constitution of 15, he has an intelligence of 18 and charisma, all pure intimidation, of 18. However, with a dexterity of 11 and a wisdom of 13, he's a bit average due to his size, unusual body structure, and the distractions of his raving insanity. He typically takes full advantage of his spellcraft, as he is a 13th level spellcaster with a spell save DC of 17, and he's plus 9 to hit with targeted spells. He tends to cast greater invisibility as soon as he becomes aware of interlopers, and will cast Wall of Force and animate objects as his favourite combat tactics. He is smart enough to target any spellcasters in an adventuring party with Flesh to Stone or Finger of Death spells. He will unleash a lightning bolt if facing multiple attackers in a line, make use of fog cloud and invisibility to conceal his location, and use the statues and various elevations to keep the adventurers off guard. Plus, if he feels the need to retreat and recuperate, he will use Polymorph, Darkness, and Expeditious Retreat to become something small and bat-like and get out of there. In combat, he has 3 uses of legendary resistance per day, and 3 legendary actions he can take at the end of another creature's turn during that round. He can either cast a cantrip for 1 action, or make a lunging attack with a long sword with a reach of 10 feet for 2 actions, or make a retreating strike moving up to 50 feet after he makes a melee attack for 3 actions. During his turn, he makes another 3 attacks, 2 with his longsword and 1 with his wicked scorpion tail stinger. The longsword is plus 9 to hit, 5 foot reach, 1 target, inflicting 2d8 plus 4 slashing damage one-handed, or 2d10 plus 4 slashing damage two-handed, depends on if he's also casting spells and such. His stinger attack is also plus 9 to hit, has a reach of 10 feet, 1 target, and does 1d10 plus 4 piercing damage, plus the target must make a DC 16 constitution saving throw, taking 6d8 poison damage on a failed save, or half of that on a successful one. Luckily, it doesn't confer the poison condition. And also, luckily, he doesn't have any lair actions. Undermountain is scary enough as it is. If you care to beef him up a bit, the obvious choice is to give him a powerful magical sword and have him fight alongside some monstrous creations of his, such as creatures with the lower body of a Dryder and the upper body of an Antheg. Also, he does know the Animate Dead spell, so toss in a few zombies and skeletons just for fun. There's not much else to say about Muiral. He's no doubt responsible for breeding many horrible monsters thanks to his magic, but he may have abandoned that interest long ago. No doubt there are many creatures that terrorise the wilds of Faerun who were created by Muiral, regularly murdering innocent people, so for that alone, Muiral certainly deserves the eventual fate of being bested by some adventurers one day. If you like the lore in these videos and would like to know more about Undermountain and Waterdeep, please hit the like button and tell me what you thought of the video down below. Subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Patreon for the exclusive content and all the full scripts for these videos, buy some merchandise, wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.